All right, we're going to finish section 10.2 today. We're looking at displaying data part 1. 10.3 is going to be displaying data part 2. We had looked at several different kinds of graphs: pictograph, a dot plot, stem and leaf plots, back to back stem and leaf plots, group frequency tables, histograms. We covered a lot of ground, and now we're on bar graphs. Okay, so bar graphs are much like histograms, but they have spaces between the bars. That might seem like a small thing, and make it like, why is it even a different category of graphs, that is. The space between the bars means something. So bar graphs are used to represent categorical data. So our histogram, I'll flip back in a minute, this is our histogram from last time, is data that's on a continuum, right? So you have these set values along the way, but the values are along a continuum. So the grades is a really good example. With bar graphs, you usually get things that are in categories, like maybe one bar is for freshmen, for sophomores, for juniors and seniors. It doesn't make sense to have them connected to each other. It's not a continuum of values. Maybe your bars are male, female, or maybe your bars are for categories of like colors of jelly beans you're counting, right, or something like that. The colors aren't on a continuum, right? They are just what they are in the package. Now, we're going to do an example, and it's the same example that we did last time. And it's grades. And you might say, but Dr. Hans, you just said that it was categories. The tricky thing about grades is that we do grades on a continuum, and we do grades in categories. So when you think about grades within the classroom, like you're looking in Canvas right now, your grades are on a number continuum. But at the end of the whole thing, right, when I go into Banner and I put your actual grade in, I don't put in 92 or 84, right? I put in A or B, and they're no longer on a continuum, right? They're categories of things. So we're thinking about this data from a category standpoint when we're doing bar graphs, but from a continuum standpoint when we do histograms, okay? So we've got our same information that we had on the last one, which was over here. These are our second exam scores. And instead of having the XY axis or the vertical and horizontal axis represent the numerical values, they're going to represent the categorical grades. So along the bottom, you can do it from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. It doesn't really matter. But just so that we can actually see that it's quite different, I'm going to do it as largest to smallest. In other words, what I mean is I'm going to put the A's first. Okay? No particular reason. I just am. So we're going to list our A's first. So you make a bar, the width of a bar, and this category is the number of A's. And then you leave a space. Come on. You leave a space and you make a bar, same width approximately, and these are our B's. You leave a space and you make a interval for C's. And you leave a space and you make an interval for D's. I think D's, that's all we had. Yeah. Okay. And then along the vertical axis, it's going to look just like it was the histograms. It's frequencies. So our frequency went up to 9 or thereabouts. So we marked every other one. So I'll do that here too. So 2, 4, 6, 8. I'll go ahead and write it as 10 there. You know what? I think I left something off of this graph. I did. When we come back, we'll come back to this one in a minute. There is one thing I left off that graph. I was probably trying to finish it up before time was up. We're going to draw bars in here. I'm going to make them colored. And so how many A's was it when we counted them? Do you remember? Was that my 9? 9? Okay. So this is going to be a bar of height 9. That's 8. That's not going to be what I want at all. Let me try that again. There's 9. How many B's were there? Anybody have it? 4. Okay, so we're going to make a bar of height 4. How many C's were there? 2. Bar of height 2. And then D's? 3. So bar of height 3. Feel free to shade them in if you wish. That's fine too. You can shade them in. But they're disconnected. And they're disconnected because these are standalone categories now, right? Here's what I left off from the last graph that we'll have to go back and put in here. You need to label the axes, okay? So this one down here is letter grades. And over here, you're going to write frequency. We'll go back and look at that on the other one in a minute here. So frequency. And down here, you can just write grades. It's the numerical grade, or you could write just grades. Okay. We did write the title on this graph. We haven't done that here yet. We still need a title. So what will the title be for this one?
Exam 2 grades?
Yes, exam 2 grades will be great. Some version of that anyway. Okay, everybody good with that? And the categories, I mean, they should be in the order in the sense that I shouldn't do ACBD, or ADCB. Like, that's not what we want. They should be in order, but they can go from largest value to smallest or smallest to largest. So we did A's to D's, but we could have done D's to A's. That would have been fine too. Okay. A double bar graph is kind of like a back-to-back stem and leaf plot. Okay, it's used to compare data. So it's going to be a bar graph. It's just going to have different bars for different data sets, and they're going to be next to one another. So what we're going to see happen is it's actually going to send us back to the back-to-back stem and leaf plot to get it. But it's telling us that we're going to go back to the back-to-back stem and leaf plot, and we're going to create a double bar graph for that data. So I need to get that back-to-back stem and leaf plot, and we will copy it over here. There it was. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be hard to get, so let's just try. I'll end up getting more than I need, and I'll delete the pieces I don't. Okay, I think that's all our data. I'd kind of like to count. Like, it's all going to be about frequencies. So let's just make a count real quick, and we'll write it in a different color out to the side. So how many, so we have A through F on one set of the data, right? That's data on the left. So the F's are right here. So how many F's are there? 3. How many D's? 1, just 1 D. How many C's? 4 C's. B's? 6 B's. And A's? 4 A's. And then on the right-hand side, we've seen this data recently. So we have the 3 D's, 2 C's, 4 B's, and 9 A's. Okay, so that's just kind of a summary of the things we have. So we're going to draw our bar graphs axes, and it's going to look like the one that we just did a minute ago, except it's going to go longer. You're going to need more space. Okay, so make it longer. I'm going to do the same as I did before, A down to D. So we'll start with A. So I have A, but right next to it, like touching it, I need another one for A. Okay, so you might even want to write, I think I've done it like this before and I like it better, an A sort of in between them. So I'm going to end up with an A bar on the left that's for exam 1 and an A bar that's on the right for exam 2. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to skip a little space, and then we're going to do the same thing for B's. So 2 marks, and then a B. Skip a space, 2 marks for C. Skip a space, 2 marks for D. Skip a space, and there's 2 marks for F. So I'm going to do, I need the frequency marks before I do anything. Let me get that in there. So it needs to go up again to 10 would be sufficient. Oh my word, 5 and 6. I'm just writing all the numbers. Let me try this again. Oh my goodness, stop. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Okay, I think I got them all marked. Yeah, looks right. Okay, so let's do first exam stuff first. So first exam is the one that's on the left. I have 3 Fs. Actually, let me start with A's since it's on the left-hand side of my graph. I have 4 A's. So this is where I mentioned before that I would have some markers with us when we do like our test or whatever. So there's 3 A's, 4 A's, sorry. So I'm going to do 4 A's, and I'm going to mark all of my first exam scores in red. So that's the box I chose, red. How many B's are on exam 1? 6. So I need a bar of height 6 for the first of the B categories. C's is 4, so we're going to go to C, and we're going to do a bar of height 4, which is the same as my original bar of height 4, right? I have 1 D. And then I have 3 Fs. I don't know, something pretty close to that, I think. And I'm going to change colors. So I'll go with blue. And then on exam 2, I have 9 A's. So the 9 A's for exam 2 will actually go right up next to the 4 A's from exam 1, and they're touching. And then I have 4 B's. I have 2 C's. Oh, sorry, that's in there. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, we're good. Did we say 2 C's? 2 C's. No, 4 C's. Did I get my B's wrong? Is that what I did wrong? I'm looking at the wrong data. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at the wrong data. Okay, 4 B's, 2 C's. I had that right the first time. 4 B's, 2 C's. Okay, D's is 3. And there are no F's, right, for this data. And what we can do is we can go back and we can shade those in. So they look better. They look more distinguishable, I guess you could say, if you can see the difference in what's going on. So here's my second exam scores. And then here's my first exam scores in red. And not only that, but this goes back to what we did on pictographs last time. What we're going to do is we're going to write a key for the colored boxes that we just did. Because there's no reason that I necessarily had to do the first exam on the left and the second exam on the right. I chose to, and it sort of makes sense that I would. But there's no guarantee that I did it that way. So we're going to have a small box shaded in blue, and we're going to have a small box shaded in red, and we're going to say what they are. So this red one, and then our blue one, are going to be the exams. So this is exam 1 scores, and this one is exam 2 scores. I'm missing a couple things. What am I missing? A title. What's the title? What could you put? Good. So you either need to write comparison of, or versus is a good way to do it. So I'll write it that way since Faith said it. So these are exam 1 versus exam 2 grades. What else am I missing? Labels on the axes, right. So the bottom axes would be letter grades. And the vertical axis would be frequency. All right, we good? Okay, the last one that we're going to look at today, I'm pretty proud of myself for remembering to bring the protractors. I'm going to say that right now. I usually get to this point and go, oh shoot, I left those back in my office, and I didn't today. So we're going to look at circle graphs, or they're also known as pie charts. This consists of a circular region partitioned into disjoint segments. The graph shows how parts are related to a whole. Okay? So, I'm going to pass these around. I think I can take one out extra. I don't need to use one. So there's little ones and there's big ones. It doesn't matter which kind you get. Just grab one. Did everybody have a chance to write everything down over there? Is anybody still writing? Yeah, I got it. I went back. Autumn, Emily's got one for you.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're going to use the group frequency table that we had from exam 5 to construct a circle graph. So I need to copy that and put it in over here. So let's go back and grab it. Here it is. Typically speaking, these ones where I keep just like grabbing the data from another screen, you'd have to create the data set, right? I mean, like if I had not already done a group frequency here, this is where I would start. I would start with my group frequency. In fact, I need it a little bit bigger for what I'm going to do first. So we have these categories, in this case, of our data. So these are the categories that were D, C, B, and A. Remember that? And those are the numbers we've kept counting multiple times. And so how many total test scores are there? 18. It's a total of 18, right? Okay, good. All right, we're going to add a couple more lines to our table. That's what we're going to do first. So add yourself another vertical line and give yourself a little bit of space and add one more. We need 2 more lines in our table. One of these columns is going to be a percent column, and the other one is going to be a degree column. And you need both of them to be able to do a circle graph, okay? What the percent column does is it takes the value that we have, so a 3, for example, for our Ds, and it divides it by the total number, that was 18 that we just calculated, and we multiply it by 100. And mine is officially not long enough to get my value, so I'm going to shift it over. Didn't think about how much space I needed to do that. Okay, so if you have a calculator with you, go ahead and grab it. You want to take 3 divided by 18 and then multiply by 100. If you get decimals, we just round to the nearest whole number. For the sake of accuracy, that's accurate enough. So what did you get when you take the number 3 divided by 18 and then multiply by 100? All right, so it's 16.6 repeating. And if we round it to the nearest whole number, that would be 17. So we write 17% here. Now before we leave this line, I want you to take that same 3 over 18 for the degree, and instead of multiplying by 100, I want you to multiply it by 360. There are 360 degrees in a rectangle. What do you get when you multiply 3 over 18 times 360? You get 60. So it's 60 degrees. We're going to do the same thing with 2. So we have 2 over 18 times 100. What does that give you? It's 11%. And then we'll take that same 2 over 18 and we'll multiply it by 360. $40. So again, this is a degree at the end. So percent in the middle, degrees at the end. We're going to do it with 4. 4 over 18 times 100. 22. and 4 over 18 times 360. 80. Now, those last two, you should see what's happening here, right? Like, when I went from 2 to 4 here, right, from 2 to 4, I doubled. So it should make sense that it doubled from 11% to 24 to 22%, excuse me, and from 40 degrees to 80 degrees. Like, those things make sense. We have one more. It's the number, what is it, 9. So 9 over 18 times 100. It's the nicest one. What do you get for that one? Yeah, it's 50%. And then 9 over 100. I'm sorry, that's not right. 9 over 18 times 360. It's what? Yeah, 180. Okay, so what do we need these two columns for? Well, I'm going to actually write it on the screen. We need the last column in order to draw accurately. We need the middle column, the first of the two we added, to be able to label it correctly. So one's to be able to draw it and one's to be able to label it. And we'll switch our screen so we have space to do any of that. So if you have a water bottle nearby, or if somebody has a water bottle nearby they don't mind you to borrow, use that to start with, and I would like for you to draw a circle. Just trace the outside of your water bottle. I have tools, so I can draw my circle, but you may not be able to. So trace around a circle. Yeah, if you want to use your protractor, you can. You could use the edge of your protractor, especially if you have one of the smaller ones, and sketch around the edge to get half a circle, and then just turn your protractor around and do the other half. You could do it that way too. And I promise I'm not judging you about how perfectly accurate your circle is. I promise. You do need to have sort of the center marked approximately. That's definitely an approximate for me because I don't have a way to mark it exact either. So. Okay. Of all the angle measures that we just created, which one's the easiest one to draw? Do you know? 180. Why is 180 the easiest one to draw? It's half a circle. So that's not always going to happen. So let's just put it in because it happened here, but you need it to go straight through the center. And I don't care whether you use the top half or the bottom half, but we're going to label it with that category. What category was the 180 in? What letter category? It was A's. I'm going to put mine on top. It's A's, and it's 50%. So I don't need to label the angle, but I need to label the percentage and put the category that I'm in. Category A, it's 50%. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about how we line up for the letter B. So every protractor has kind of a dot on the flat side. Do you see the dot that's in the middle? Kind of almost looks like it's beveled or a magnifying kind of little piece. That dot has to line up on the center of your circle. Okay? So that dot will line up on the center of your circle. So if I were doing mine up here, it would look like that. The dot's on the middle. Okay? So the dot being on the middle, and then you need to see that your protractor has two sets of numbers around it. One number goes up, 0, 10, 20, 30. The other one goes down, 180, 170, 160, 150. We want to use the one that's going up. And we want to use, for the letter B, is 22%. So we're going to go all the way around our circle until we get to 22%. If your circle is too, or if your protractor is too big or too small, it's fine. You can just make the mark where you need to make the mark, and then you connect it. So let me show you what that looks like on my screen. So if I line this up here, obviously my protractor is much too small for my screen, right? Okay, but I can see where the 22 is, and the 22 would end up being somewhere like a dot right here. That's fine. You just make the dot where it's supposed to be, and then you connect the center dot to the dot that you made and extend it to the edge of the circle. And it doesn't matter if that dot was in the middle of the circle or if the dot's on the outside of the circle, you can still do the same thing. Now, I'm going to have, can somebody switch me for a little one for a second? Because the little one will work better on my screen for just a minute. So that we can make it at least look reasonable. So we're supposed to have 22 degrees. So my dot looks like it would be this protractor is actually written wrong. That's fun. It's about right there, give or take.
So you use this outer side or the inner side numbers?
Well, it's whichever ones are increasing. My bad. I made a mistake. It's 22%. That's actually correct. It's 80 degrees. I was totally looking at the wrong thing. Let's actually get rid of those stray marks. It's supposed to be an 80 degree mark that I was supposed to be making. It's like, that doesn't seem quite right, because it's not. I just all touch sensitive and it's not working very well. 80 degrees would be here on mine. Okay, so I'm going to connect the dots, but I'm only going to connect them to the edge of the circle. They'd connect if I went out to the edge where the dot is, but there we go. Give or take, that's pretty close. And this category over here is the B's, and that's the 22%. There we go. C's were 11%, but I actually want the degree mark, which is what I meant to messed up on last time. The C's are 40 degrees. So when you line this one up now, here's the deal. Your dot needs to be lined up in the center of the circle. We already said that, right, where the marks cross or where it looks like it's beveled. But it needs to line up along the edge of the line you just drew for B. And you're measuring out from there, you're 40 degrees. Okay, so mine looks something like here. That. And I'm actually on the inside of my circle this time, so I'll extend it all the way over here. This is my C's, and it's 11%. And then I don't actually have to do the D, although I can measure it and make sure that it's right. It's got to be what's remaining because there are no F's. But the D here is supposed to be 60 degrees. So do check. Again, you can line up the dot on the, and you need to line up the dot on the center. You can line up your line either along the line C that you just drew or along the line back up here if you want to. So you can either line it up like this and measure it, or you can line it up like this and measure it. And it should be hitting at about 60 degrees. Mine does look like it on my screen. Let's see if it does if I put it on my iPad. Yeah, I did a good job today. That one worked out pretty well once we got the little bit error fixed. Okay, so this is what our graph looks like. This graph does not do a very good job of allowing you to see independent values. What it does is a really good job of allowing you to see the comparison between values, right? Like I can look at this and say, whoa, look how many A's there were compared to everything else. It's half of the circle, right? And you can say, oh, C was the tiniest one. It's very little in there. I needed to label my D. That was 20. No, not 22. Was it 33? No, 17. There we go, 17%. That was awesome. And so you can see the percentages. You can see the comparison of the size of the segments or the sectors. And then we need one more thing on here. What do you think we need? A title. It's the same title we keep working with. Exam 2 grades.